Alex Pereira recently became the light heavyweight champion after knocking out Jiri Prochazka in round 2 at UFC 295, and in this video I'll be talking about how I think he matches up with the top light heavyweight contenders. First, let's talk about Alex Pereira versus Jamahal Hill, and this fight should probably take place around April or May of next year because that's when Jamahal Hill has expressed interest of returning. In this matchup, I'm taking Alex Pereira by KO because I believe Alex Pereira is the better striker, and this will be a striking matchup. Jamahal Hill has expressed time and time again that he will not shoot a takedown. He's not allowing himself to because he feels disrespected on Twitter. I don't know why he's letting that play such a big part of how he's going to approach this fight, but I think he is not making the greatest game plan here. I think it's a horrible game plan to want to stand and bang with Alex Pereira without even having the threat of a takedown. I really hate that from him. It's very egotistical, and it's not the mindset that I want a fighter to be in on fight week. Look, I think he has the tools to get it done. I'd give him like a 45% chance to beat Alex Pereira if it is a complete stand-up fight because he is quick, he's got very powerful hands, and he throws with a lot of volume, which will create problems for Alex Pereira, potentially putting Alex Pereira on the back foot where he is not his best. But Alex Pereira has fantastic leg kicks, and Jamahal Hill has not fought anyone that has really kicked his legs yet. Not Thiago Santos, not Glover Teixeira, and no one before that has. I think Alex Pereira is by far, by wide margins, the best striker that he has faced, and probably the most powerful striker he's faced by far as well. Look, Alex Pereira will be able to chop the legs up. I think the tools of Alex Pereira will allow him to stay out of the range of Jamahal Hill early. He'll be able to circle, land the leg kicks similarly to how he did against Jiri Prochazka. The leg kicks won't be as effective against Jamahal Hill because Jiri Prochazka's stance is literally meant to get leg kicked. But what I will say is Jamahal Hill's stance really isn't fantastic for leg kick defense either. I don't believe he'll be able to defend all the leg kicks, seeing that Jan Blachowicz, who I believe is the best at checking leg kicks in the entire UFC, was struggling with the leg kicks of Alex Pereira because they are so untelegraphed. I think he'll be able to chew up the leg early and kind of keep the fight at range, keep it a slow pace, have a couple of very aggressive exchanges in there, but he'll survive, probably a knockout around round 3, I'd say, once he really does start to chew up the lead leg of Jamahal Hill. Because Jamahal Hill, I don't want to say he's one-dimensional because he did land the head kick a couple times against Glover Teixeira, but he's got a very boxing-heavy approach, and the leg kicks, I just truly do believe, will be a massive problem with him. Plus, Alex Pereira is very big, and Jamahal Hill isn't massive for the light heavyweight division. I believe if he got rid of the gut, he would be able to cut down to middleweight and probably have some success there. But I don't think he is maybe a natural light heavyweight in all fairness. But he has great stand-up. He's got pretty solid takedown defense as we saw in the Glover Teixeira fight. And if he was to wrestle and really express that he wants to take down Alex Pereira, make this a mixed martial arts fight, I might pick Jamahal Hill in this matchup. But I can't. I really can't. Because in a stand-up fight, we have seen Alex Pereira pull out tools off his back pocket. He has solid counters, maybe not the greatest counters. And then when he pressures you, obviously, he has so much power, and I think he'll be able to knock out a Jamahal Hill. And we have seen Jamahal Hill get clipped by Glover Teixeira multiple times and Thiago Santos multiple times. And just parts of his striking does look very sloppy. This should be a fun fight. I think Jamahal Hill has a very solid chin. He'll be able to take some of the shots from Alex Pereira very well. And I think he absolutely, like I said, could knock out Alex Pereira early. But as the fight keeps going on, although Jamahal Hill has the better cardio, his leg will continue to get chewed up, and as you go into the later rounds with Alex Pereira, your movement is going to be hindered massively, and Jamahal Hill's movement is a massive part of his stand-up. So we're going with Alex Pereira, round 3 KO. I haven't watched the tape, so it may change, but I will be picking Alex Pereira more than likely as long as Jamahal Hill says he will be keeping the fight on the feet, which, pull up the quote right now, he's going to keep it on the feet.
Bro, I'm making a very assertive point, and and mark my words when I say this. There will be no, I do not plan on taking him down. I do not plan on wrestling him. I plan on going in there in where y'all think he's just this otherworldly guy because he did kickboxing and I didn't do kickboxing. You know, this is a completely different sport. Kickboxing is kickboxing. MMA is MMA. I've been doing MMA for years. I've been bred in MMA. And whenever I do fight him, standing, I will knock him out.
Now let's talk about Jiri Prochazka versus Alex Pereira. In a potential rematch, I would be going with Alex Pereira. But first, I want to talk about the stoppage a little bit. I do believe it was early. I'll touch on it very briefly because I know a lot of you guys probably have your own takes on it by now. And I do want to say I think it's early because Jiri Prochazka has the best chin recovery in the entire UFC. You got to know your personnel as a ref, and as Jiri Prochazka, you have to know this guy has some of the best chin recovery in the entire UFC. A lot of people are saying, well, Jiri Prochazka said he was out, and he said it was a good stoppage. Jiri Prochazka would probably tell you he was out in all 3 of his UFC wins. Glover Teixeira definitely put him out for a second. Volkan Oezdemir more than likely did, and he said he was out against Dominic Reyes, and he won all 3 of those fights. So that's my point. Alex Pereira was in very high mount, and if Jiri Prochazka can scramble and maybe get Alex Pereira on his back, Alex Pereira could potentially fall off the back of Jiri Prochazka. Jiri Prochazka could end up in full mount, or the fight gets back up to the feet where Alex Pereira would probably KO him in that round as well, or in a later round as well, because Jiri Prochazka, his legs were getting chewed up and his movement was continuing to get hindered, although he was having a lot of success in round 2, which makes a potential rematch very interesting. You have to note that his legs are just meant to get chewed up, especially with that super wide stance. Very bad game plan when it comes to the stance versus Alex Pereira. I think Alex Pereira looked at that and said, oh, this is easy money. Although Jiri Prochazka got his leg out of there a couple times, all it takes is 2 or 3 for you to really start feeling that calf kick from Alex Pereira, right? Jiri Prochazka is my second favorite fighter, so I can talk on the side of I think it was an early stoppage. I wanted to see him out in a casket. I want to see him in a graveyard before I'm going to stop that fight against Alex Pereira. I literally saw Jiri Prochazka fall. I'm like, all right, we got to see Alex Pereira ground and pound. I thought in the moment, do not stop this fight, and he stopped the fight. Right as Alex Pereira rolls off of Jiri Prochazka, you see Jiri Prochazka right there with his hands up, ready to defend the strikes, and then he rolls over to the side, and he honestly looked pretty in it to me. If he could potentially make a scramble, if there's anyone in the entire UFC you do not stop that fight for, it is Jiri fucking Prochazka. But I do believe Alex Pereira probably would have landed a couple of elbows. But by the time Mark Goddard, like I mentioned, pulled Alex Pereira off of Jiri Prochazka, Alex Pereira wouldn't have landed any shots. I don't think people are realizing that because Alex Pereira had to place his hands to make sure that he would stay in high mount and not slip off the top of Jiri Prochazka. So it probably would have been like a second or two after the stoppage that Alex Pereira would land the first strikes. And then from there, I do think Jiri Prochazka probably would go out, seeing that it is in high mount. And he would just land some strikes there. And Jiri Prochazka was extremely hurt. But like I said, it's Jiri Prochazka. You have to give him a chance. So let's say Jiri Prochazka comes out here, gets a lot of momentum, beats Nikita Krylov, and then potentially one of the 4 of Ankalaev, Walker, Blachowicz, or Rakic. And then he gets a title shot. He still has a very good chance to beat Alex Pereira. I'd say like a 45% chance as well. I think Alex Pereira has a very good chance to beat anyone in the division, but also a very good chance to lose to anyone in the division as well, just because he is very hittable and technically he is not perfect. Moving on to Magomed Ankalaev versus Alex Pereira, I would be going with Magomed Ankalaev, but not confidently at all. I'd say probably like a 51% chance, just because we've seen Magomed Ankalaev land these takedowns to be able to control these fighters from the top. I think this would be a very boring decision where we'd see him probably edge out like 4 or 5 of the rounds because he'd be able to take down Alex Pereira. Alex Pereira is pretty defensively sound on the ground, so if Magomed Ankalaev does get the top control, he could potentially land the strikes and just edge out the decision, but Alex Pereira is very good at controlling the hands of his opponents, as we saw against Jiri Prochazka, and his submission defense is pretty good as well. I think Magomed Ankalaev's stand-up really isn't all that good. We saw Jan Blachowicz absolutely chew up his leg. He was super wobbled, and Jan Blachowicz wasn't able to finish it, but I believe Alex Pereira is a better striker than Jan Blachowicz, and I'll get how I think a rematch with Jan Blachowicz and Alex Pereira would go in just one moment, but I want to mention that Magomed Ankalaev's legs really are not strong, and if this fight takes place on the feet for even a round, I think Magomed Ankalaev will be out of there because Alex Pereira has more power than Jan Blachowicz, and Magomed Ankalaev's chin has looked a little bit sus in the past. He's been knocked down, I think it was twice, by Thiago Santos. He was rucked, he was getting hit, and he, just on the feet, he doesn't maintain his range all that well, and he's not super massive for the division either. With that being said, Alex Pereira has been taken down by fighters that he should be stuffing takedowns from. And he is defensively sound, so this is why I think it'll make it to decision. And I don't think Magomed Ankalaev's cardio is fantastic, and his finishing ability on the ground is fantastic either. So I think it would be very boring, where every single fan of the sport would just hate Magomed Ankalaev from then on. But I can't really blame the guy if he wants to grapple with Alex Pereira. The striker similarly did. How I think Jamahal Hill should look to take down Alex Pereira and mix it up on him. But I think Alex Pereira, if this fight takes place on the feet and we see Alex Pereira be able to get back up to his feet, because while Jan Blachowicz wasn't able to get back up to his feet, I don't think he's all that good at scrambling back up to his feet. His scrambles aren't that good. And if Alex Pereira, who has gone back up to the feet against Jan Blachowicz, gone back up to the feet against Jiri Prochazka, and will continue to improve his grappling game, can keep it on the feet for a little amount of time, he will be able to knock out Magomed Ankalaev, and I'm pretty damn confident of that. So Magomed Ankalaev was getting clipped by big shots from Jan Blachowicz, getting his legs chewed up, and like I said, his chin is a little bit suspect, but I think Magomed Ankalaev will find the takedowns, and he'll be shooting like his life depends on it. And we'll see probably a 50-45 or a 49-46 decision. Alex Pereira will probably land a bunch of elbows on the ground and probably steal a round, but it won't be a very fun matchup. I really hope that Johnny Walker either beats him or the winner of Rakic versus Blachowicz will be able to beat him for a title shot. So with that being said, let's move on to Alex Pereira versus Jan Blachowicz in a potential rematch. And in this matchup, I'll be going with Alex Pereira by knockout. I think he proved that he was the better striker in their matchup. And while Jan Blachowicz did look sloppy, and I see a lot of people talking about that, I think they failed to mention how sloppy Alex Pereira did look, in my opinion. He looked super gassed. As a guy that's watched all the Alex Pereira tape in the world, that is some of the sloppiest Alex Pereira stand-up I've seen in quite some time, and he just looked gassed as hell to me, along with Jan Blachowicz as well. It goes both ways, but I think Alex Pereira proved that he was the better striker. He outstruck Jan Blachowicz while it was on the feet in rounds 2 and 3, and then round 1, it wasn't really on the feet, but Alex Pereira eventually found his way back up to the feet after surviving the submission attempts from Jan Blachowicz. I think Alex Pereira, with better cardio, not at elevation, will be able to get back up to the feet and beat Jan Blachowicz on the feet. And from there, I'd probably see a knockout in rounds 2 or rounds 3. So with that being said, let's move on to the next matchup, which is Aleksandar Rakic versus Alex Pereira. In this matchup, I will go with Alex Pereira by like a 51% chance of winning. And you got to hear me out. I know a lot of people will say Aleksandar Rakic is going to get the takedowns in Alex Pereira and control him there. He was able to do that to Jan Blachowicz, who was able to take down Alex Pereira and hold Alex Pereira there for a round, and then take him down in round 3 as well and finish the round on top. I understand that, but I think Aleksandar Rakic's offensive wrestling is being massively overrated just because he took down Jan Blachowicz and held him down for a round. In the rematch from Rakic versus Blachowicz, I think I'm leaning towards Blachowicz right now, but I might switch my pick. I do want to do a little bit more research on that fight before I give my official prediction. But that's a very close one to predict, and Jan Blachowicz was cooking Aleksandar Rakic on the feet and landing very big shots that if Alex Pereira lands, I think Rakic goes out. And the reason why I think his offensive wrestling is being overrated is because in round 1, he shot 2 takedowns, both of them were stuff. And one of them, I will say, Aleksandar Rakic was kind of hurt, and it was a very panic shoot type of takedown situation, and that's why he wasn't able to get it. But the other one was just a horrible timed takedown entry. Jan Blachowicz was able to stuff him, and Jan Blachowicz, in his own right, has horrible takedown defense. And then in round 2, he ended up getting the takedown, but it was after Jan Blachowicz overextended on a strike, and then he timed it pretty well, but it was still kind of a sloppy takedown entry, and he was just lucky enough to get it in the center of the octagon. And then from there, it's really hard to get back up to your feet. As you guys know, having the cage behind you makes it that much easier to get back up to your feet and separate from the clinch and make it a striking fight once again. And Jan Blachowicz actually was able to get it back up to the feet in round 2, but that was after he busted his ass to get back to the cage and then find his way back up to his feet. And it was right at the end of round 2, if I'm remembering correctly. And then when it came to round 3, obviously, Aleksandar Rakic's ACL blew out, which was very unfortunate. A fluke scenario, but Jan Blachowicz was beating him on the feet, and I do think he could potentially stuff the takedowns and beat Aleksandar Rakic, and then he could look for a title elimination bout against the winner of Ankalaev versus Walker. And Rakic, I mean, he doesn't have bad stand-up. He just gets hit, and his legs are there to get chewed up. And as I've said multiple times throughout this video, Alex Pereira's leg kicks are fantastic, and they will land on Aleksandar Rakic. So we'll go with Alex Pereira by KO in rounds 1 or 2. Could happen a little bit later. I just think he will be able to find his way back up to the feet if he's not taken down in the center of the octagon, similar to how Jan Blachowicz was taken down against Aleksandar Rakic. And then when they separate, he is clearly the better striker, and Aleksandar Rakic has been clipped by a lot of opponents. Moving on to Nikita Krylov, who I think is the most underrated fighter in this entire division. I think he is what they call the dark horse of the light heavyweight division. Outside of him, it would be Aleksandar Rakic, but I think Nikita Krylov does have a lot of matchups that he can win at the light heavyweight division, and this is one of them. I genuinely think he will go out there shooting takedowns early, trying to get the takedowns, controlling Alex Pereira, and he will find the submission or TKO in rounds 1 or 2. I think he sees Alex Pereira as a massive threat on the feet, similarly to how we saw Johnny Walker. And in that fight, he looked to take down Johnny Walker early in almost every single round, and then he controlled Johnny Walker for, I believe it was 11 minutes or so. He has underrated wrestling. I don't think it's fantastic, but he kind of reminds me to a light heavyweight Pantoja. Pantoja goes out there, he pressures you on the feet, he gets hit, but he has pretty solid cardio, pushes an insane pace, and then he also has very solid submissions as well. And Nikita Krylov, I mean, his wrestling's okay, similar to Alejandro Pantoja's, but he has pretty solid submissions, and he's also got very solid power in the hands, and he loves to pressure forward. Against Alex Pereira, like I was saying, I don't think he's going to go out there and entertain the stand-up all that much, or it will take a couple of leg kicks for him to realize that he should be shooting in on takedowns. And I know he gets hit by a lot of opponents. You can watch the Volkan Oezdemir fight where he looks sloppy, he gets clipped early, and Volkan Oezdemir could KO him in the first round in a different world, if we're being completely honest. But after he got hurt, he shot in on the takedowns, and I think Alex Pereira, the way he starts out fights, he's not going out there slugging, really trying to get his opponents out of there super early. He's a little bit more cautious, likes to set up his shots, and I think he'll go for a couple of leg kicks. That will trigger in the mind of Nikita Krylov, I need to shoot takedowns, I need to get this down to the ground, this is hurting, and this will only get worse. And against Johnny Walker, we saw him shoot in on a takedown like in the first 20 seconds of the fight because he viewed Johnny Walker as this massive threat on the feet, as we saw Johnny Walker knocking out everybody on the way up. So I think Alex Pereira will get taken down, and Nikita Krylov will get his back and find the submission or TKO on the ground. In rounds 1 or 2, I'd probably give Nikita Krylov a 51% chance of winning because he does get hit so much on the feet, and Volkan Oezdemir cannot be hitting you like that. I truly do believe he is smart enough to want to take the fight down to the ground, and he has just been underrated. When you look at his losses, they are to very solid fighters. Magomed Ankalaev, although he did get subbed by Paul Craig, I would take him in a rematch, and I'm still picking him over Alex Pereira as a massive Alex Pereira fan. I just think Nikita Krylov is being massively underrated, and with the pressure, he will push. And he puts everything into his takedowns. When he shoots a takedown, he really does drive and make sure to get you down to the ground. Seeing that Alex Pereira has been taken down by Blachowicz and Jiri Prochazka, who arguably are worse offensive wrestlers than a Nikita Krylov, I think Nikita Krylov will be able to get Alex Pereira down and either control him, TKO him, or submit him on the ground early. And yeah, I have to go with Nikita Krylov here, but Alex Pereira is improving rapidly, and by the time he does get to the title, maybe Nikita Krylov will not be able to beat Alex Pereira, and Alex Pereira will develop very good takedown defense or be able to get back up to his feet even better than he has in the past. Moving on to Johnny Walker, I would be taking Alex Pereira by KO. I'd probably give Alex Pereira a 60% chance. I think if it's on the feet, I'd be a little bit more confident, but Johnny Walker can absolutely mix in the offensive wrestling, and he has good submissions in his own right and pretty solid power on the ground as well. He could finish Alex Pereira on the ground, but when it comes to the feet, I think Alex Pereira will be able to chew up the leg and find the knockout since Johnny Walker does not have the greatest chin. But Johnny Walker is a glass cannon, so if he connects on Alex Pereira on the feet, he can absolutely spark Alex Pereira, and he has a range that will be very hard for Pereira to deal with. But I think Pereira will look to the leg kicks as Johnny Walker's legs are there to get chewed up like a lot of light heavyweights are. And he has a very wide stance, so Pereira will target the leg early and then find a shot that will put Johnny Walker down since Johnny Walker does not have a very good chin. But like I said, if Johnny Walker connects on Alex Pereira early, he can absolutely put Pereira out. And if he looks to take down Alex Pereira, I could see that having a lot of success as well. I just think he will probably entertain the stand-up because he loves a stand-up fight. And we don't really see him resorting to the grappling all that often. So we'll go with Alex Pereira, probably a round 1 KO. He'll probably find it early, and if it goes to decision, if Johnny Walker isn't ragdolling him for the whole 5 rounds, I think Alex Pereira will be able to keep it on the feet. And as the fight goes later with a guy like Alex Pereira, your leg will keep getting chewed up and you'll keep losing mobility. So we're going with Alex Pereira, 60% chance of winning by KO. Moving on to the last matchup we'll be breaking down in this video, we'll be talking about Anthony Smith versus Alex Pereira because they have talked a lot of shit in the past. I would be going with Alex Pereira here just because I don't think Anthony Smith has looked very good recently. I know Ryan Spann, he beat him. It was a very close fight. Some people thought Spann won, other people thought Smith won. It was very close nevertheless, and Anthony Smith just didn't look all that good in that matchup. And I do also want to mention, against Johnny Walker, he looked horrible. And one of Smith's biggest weaknesses is his leg kick defense, and Alex Pereira, in my opinion, is the best leg kicker in the entire UFC, and he'll have a field day on the feet. It's just about if Anthony Smith can get the takedowns and submit Alex Pereira, which I don't think he can do. He's looked very slow, sloppy lately, and while he is delusional and probably says this is the easiest matchup in the entire division for him, I think Alex Pereira can either stuff the takedowns or get back up to his feet and cook Anthony Smith very quickly and very easily. And this is one of those matchups where Anthony Smith doesn't have all that much power on the feet. So Alex Pereira, you could see him going out there being very aggressive and really hunting to finish from the start. So I'd go with Alex Pereira, probably a 65% chance to beat Anthony Smith just because I do recognize Anthony Smith is a pretty well-rounded fighter and can wrestle and potentially could get Alex Pereira to the ground and submit him there. But I think Alex Pereira, this is the easiest matchup for him out of everyone that I named so far. But I do want to mention before I leave that Alex Pereira, he can win all these matchups. I'm picking him to win a majority of these matchups, but I also recognize that he has the style where he can lose almost all these matchups as well because there are clear holes in his striking game and clearly in his grappling game as well. So there's a lot of unknowns about Alex Pereira's grappling game, and we do know the weaknesses on the feet. So, I mean, he can lose a lot of these matchups, but I really am excited for him moving forward. The light heavyweight division is actually looking up. It's looking like it's going to be fun from now on, and hopefully it stays that way. With that being said, that's going to conclude this video. Thank you guys for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.